This is Nat St. Laurent, and you're listening to Pro Lacrosse Talk.
On Shriver. Sidearm whip. Scores. Now in front. Fidel scores. Hands off for Rabel. Switches hands and scores.
Kylie O'Miller showing off those shifty skills.
Right off the bat, there's Lyle Thompson.
Welcome to Pro Lacrosse Talk, the voice of Pro Lacrosse. I'm Hutton, he's Adam. Together we're bringing you interviews with your favorite players and coaches, as well as news from all 4 professional lacrosse leagues.
All right, today we have Coach Nat St. Laurent joining the podcast. Coach Nat St. Laurent is the coach of the Redwoods. So, Coach, welcome to the show, and let's kind of get started on how you first got into lacrosse.
Yeah. So I started playing lacrosse at Carthage High School when I think I was in 6th grade or 5th grade is when it got introduced. And it was kind of like the coolest thing ever. You know, we were a little bit of a baseball town. And then Jason Kaufman, who's the NCAA all-time leading scorer, started playing lacrosse at my high school. And then the Paul brothers, they kind of picked it up and started playing. And our town never looked back. So I was fortunate enough to be around one of the greatest coaches ever, and Coach Benaquatro, who's a Hall of Famer, and been able to be exposed to the game at such a high level because of the talent that our high school had. And then from there, I finished up my career at Keuka College, and small college in near Lakes, near Hope School. Moved down to Virginia. We started work coaching at Virginia Military Institute. It was my first coaching job as the offensive coordinator there. And while I was down there, coached with Coach Bartlett for 4 years, who was at VMI for about 20 years. And, he's an upstate New York guy as well. So he gave me my start. So I owe the world to him. And then I was able to go across the street to Washington and Lee University. And that's where my career really started taking off at WNL, just the rich tradition and history that they have. Started working on my master's while I was there down at Virginia Tech. And, the rest was kind of history after that.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's great to kind of see, where you've progressed along. And then talk to me a little bit about the military. When did you enlist in the military? And how important has that been in both your personal career, but also, coaching as well?
I come from a military family. We grew up right next to Fort Drum, New York. My older brother is a lieutenant colonel right now at the Pentagon. My father was in the military. And, you just grew up in that environment. It means a little bit. I don't really know how to describe it. It meant a lot to me. I thought I wanted to serve. So I went away to college, and, I'll never forget getting a phone call from a friend saying, hey, turn on the news in September. 9/11 was happening, and, we're watching the buildings tumble, and it was just a surreal moment. And that was in the fall semester, obviously. And over Christmas break, I decided that I was going to, enlist in the military that summer and serve my country in a smaller role. There's nothing heroic, but I just felt like I wanted to serve our country. And from there, that experience kind of catapulted and helped me grow as a man and as a person and prioritize a little bit better and grow. So, that was really what I consider a key moment in my life, a key time frame. Really brought discipline and learning how to pay attention to the small details and holding myself and others accountable. I learned that quite a bit there.
That's awesome. And I myself am a reservist in the Army, so I appreciate what you're doing. And are you still serving as a reservist? Or
not anymore?
Okay.
I think once I started coaching summer, in the MLL and started my career started taking off. It was just too much.
Yep.
To the training facility because I was attached to a different unit, and you know how those can be some long hours and long days, and it was just too much to balance everything and still be a good father.
But that's awesome, and it's great that you've been able to kind of catapult that into a coaching career as well. I'm sure there's a lot of overlap in what you learned in the military as well.
Oh yeah, without question. Between that and my education background and teaching a little bit, I think those are the two things that I've been able to really mesh together and build our program at Ohio Northern with, and my coaching philosophy and my style with that discipline, attention to detail, and then understanding the different learning styles. It's not basic training where everybody shows up on a kettle, a kettle wagon and off and you just start yelling and screaming. But you have to really understand the different learning styles of players. And I think the education background and the military were two things that complement me and helped me develop to where I am today.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And you're now currently at Ohio Northern. You've been there since 2014. What's it like having that first head coaching gig, and how has it been there?
Yeah, it's been an amazing ride. I've always wanted to start something from scratch, and being able to come out here and have the facilities and the trust from the administration to allow me to really build it and leave me alone while I did it was great. And I think in our short period of time, we've been able to do some pretty amazing things while we're here. But it's just because we're able to recruit. I've had awesome assistant coaches, great support from administration, and lacrosse has grown so quickly. So it's been fun. I mean, I joke all the time. People are saying, hey, you should write a book because, that first year we brought in all freshmen. So you can imagine what that was like with no upperclassmen whatsoever. I think I might have aged 10 years during that 1 year period. But, to see all of those guys graduate last year, 22 seniors walk across that stage and watch them come in as young kids and graduate as young men was pretty awesome.
That's great. And, I'm sure this year has been a little bit tumultuous with campus closing and colleges around the United States going to the virtual side of things. How have your students been reacting to that? Obviously, it's a tough situation. How have you been dealing with that?
Yeah, so obviously, we found out probably 20 minutes before practice started that our season was going to be canceled. And, our AD did everything he possibly could, and so did our president. But at the end of the day, it's the right call. It was the toughest locker room I think I've ever been in, just trying to keep my emotions at bay, and I just couldn't. I care about this team so much. I care about these seniors, and to see them in the front row of the meeting, they knew it was coming. And then to actually hear it, it was one of the toughest locker rooms, not the toughest locker room I've ever been in. But we made the most of it. We were going to surprise the team that Saturday. I think this was on a Thursday this happened. That Saturday, we were going to surprise the team with new uniforms. So we went and just kind of quickly thinking. I had my assistants go out and crank the music and set up the field for a scrimmage because we needed some kind of normalcy. And we busted out the new uniforms and put the seniors with the sophomore class, and we did an inter-squad scrimmage, and we were able to live feed it last minute so the parents could watch. And we made the most of it. Still stings, still hurts. I miss those guys because we were really starting to come together and do some big things. But just so damn proud of them. The relationships we have are irreplaceable, and we still meet. We just met yesterday as a senior class with a Zoom meeting. So I can still see all those knuckleheads and interact with those guys, make sure that they're still staying focused because this is new for all of them. But yeah, we texting and doing Zoom meetings with each class just to kind of make sure that we don't get lost in translation with what we set out to do. And that's a student athlete.
No, that's great. And, it's a shame, how the season has gone. But, obviously, like you said, it is the right decision. I want to shift gears a little bit more to the pro side of things. So you also were an assistant with the MLL machine while you were coaching at Ohio Northern. So what was that experience like? How did you get into the pro ranks?
Yeah, it was just one of those things with the lacrosse community so awesome. I remember seeing Tommy Mariano, who was the D coordinator for the machine at the time, at a recruiting event up at Franklin and Marshall University. And it was year one of the ONU, so I didn't have a team, and I just wanted to keep coaching and stay sharp. And I just told him, I said, hey, if I can help at all, if you need a volunteer. So he kind of connected me with Coach Davis, who I coached against because Coach Davis started the Robert Morris program when I was an assistant at VMI. And again, how fortunate are we with these, the lacrosse community. So I got on as a volunteer and really was able to learn a lot from Coach Mariano. And then he went on to be the head coach at the Florida launch. And I was able to step into that defensive coordinator role, which was my first time ever coaching the defense ever at any level. I've always been an offensive guy. And so that was quite stressful. And, that year we lost a heartbreaking game in the MLL championship by a goal. Yep. If you remember the Water Bowl, the monsoon, and then to be able to go back the next year and win it, it's an amazing experience. And I keep telling my wife and my family and myself how lucky I am and how fortunate I am for people to take a shot on a guy from, a no name from a small town in upstate New York, Division III guy. And, we talk about my family all the time, dream big and do not get outworked is what we kind of instill in our children. And that's what we wanted to do and take advantage of our opportunities. So that kind of got me to that point. And then from there with the machine, I was able to develop unbelievable relationships with Kyle Harrison and Tommy Schreiber, Marcus Holman. My son is actually named after Marcus Holman. Marcus's father is he's one of the most special people I've ever met. And got to know him while they were all at Carolina. And Coach Holman really has been there for me every step of the way. And the way he lives his life and plays the game went into our decision making with Jamarcus. So lacrosse is just it's an unbelievable experience for me. And, you know, when Paul Rabel called after talking with these guys, I remember him calling saying, hey, you know, you want to coach in the PLL, you know? And I'd be like, yeah, you know, who am I working for? You know, I've heard all these names, you know, am I going to coach Dagnita's assistant? Am I going to be like, what am I going to do? And, you know, Kyle Harrison was like, no, we're looking at you as a head coach. And I was like, wow.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. You know, so super fortunate. I think it just goes back to lacrosse being an awesome community and the relationships that we get to develop along the way.
That's fantastic. And, you know, speaking of Kyle, you got to coach him again last year with the Woods. And talk about that season a little bit. You know, I probably ended on a more sour note than you had won, but it was an awesome run at the end there and awesome first season for the Woods and the PLL. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know, it was an unbelievable season. I think I didn't know what to expect, and then we went down to Bradenton, Florida, excuse me, for training camp. Everything that, you know, the Rabels and the PLL staff had put together, just walking around, there was a buzz about it that I just wasn't. I was like, wow, this is going to be real deal. And so, you know, as soon as you step foot out on the practice, you know, guys were pumped, they were excited, and things were getting ran a little bit different than what I was expecting or what my other training camp experiences were. So that was exciting, and then, you know, we had that first scrimmage against the Whipsnakes, ironically enough, down in training camp. And, you know, there's the fight breaking out between Jules and Acello, and just the intensity and scrimmage. They jumped on us pretty good in that first half. And then we closed the gap in the second half, if you've heard that story before, right? And, you know, from there, I was like, this is going to be tough. And, you know, the season started, and we had a huge win off the bat up in Gillette against, you know, the Atlas. And we were able to string some wins together, and then made a big trade for Jules, able to kind of step in and help our team continue to develop. So, you know, that first part of the season was amazing. The second half, not so much. You know, I think we lost 4 or 5 in a row, and you know, we went from being one of the best teams in the league and getting into the playoffs to a team that was fighting for our lives. And the thing that I love about our team, and, you know, any of these teams that I've been fortunate enough to be a part of, they don't quit, they don't roll over, they're going to continue to prep, they're going to continue to stay focused. And we had unbelievable leadership with Kyle and Joe Walters and Greg Grenlian in the locker room. And those Notre Dame guys, you know, they really don't get enough credit. There's some outstanding leaders in there with Kavanaugh and Eddie Glazer, you know, Epple and Landis. So and Jack Neer's phenomenal. So there's a lot of that type of stuff that's going on, and people didn't notice and see all that. And they stuck together. They did a great job. And then we went on that magical run starting out in Albany, and we were able to move some personnel around with, you know, Sergio Perkovic and get him more involved and playing a bigger role. And, you know, he really stepped up and did that. And we got Greg Renly healthy, and, you know, the kid came in, the kid being Ryder Garnsey, you know, he came in and just started being Ryder, and things started falling into place on that run. And I do believe that, you know, I love our defense, and I think there's a lot of teams that say we have the best defense in the league, but, you know, to have the defense that we had and be able to put a rookie in the goal from day one and have him go all season and get rookie of the year, you know, I think that just speaks volumes about the guys out in front of him and what they're doing. And we really made it easy for him to do his job easier. It's not easy being a goalie in this league, I promise you that. Again, you know, this is where Eddie Glazer doesn't get enough credit for exactly what he does, and he is, without question, you know, the general back there. He keeps everything together, everybody on the same page. So we had so much leadership and so much championship level experience. Breaking West Bergen was huge, just because I know, and I'm sick of coaching against him. And, you know, he's won at every level, and bringing him in, we're going to miss him this year, but to have him last year in that run was huge, especially, you know, what he did in Ohio, getting a hat trick in like 2 minutes. So.
Yeah, no, that for sure. And, you know, I hate to bring it up, but talk me through the championship game. How tough was that loss? You guys, you know, you went down, you came back, you ended up taking the lead, and, you know, Jules almost, you know, put the dagger in the game with that behind the back that just barely missed. Before the Whips were able to get that final possession and send it to overtime where they'd win. Talk me through how tough that was.
Oh boy, I don't really know if I can talk through it, to be honest with you. I know, you know, at the beginning, you know, you look back, and, you know, I struggle with this one because I've always felt like in a 1-goal game, that's on the coach, and I've taken this one very personally. And looking back, could have done a much better job in that first half, prepping us or calling a timeout, or there's so many things that we could have done, and to, you know, for me, it was devastating because there are so many guys on that Notre Dame team that haven't won a championship, and you know what? They deserve it. They really, really deserve a championship. And I know how bad they wanted it. I knew that Landis was getting ready to step away from the game for a little bit to become a Navy SEAL and serve his country. And you know, it was just gut wrenching. And then when you battle all the way back and you get that goal, and I had a timeout left. I remember, as soon as we scored that go-ahead goal, and Joey did the bat flip out there, and I had a timeout, and we're going to use this more possession, and we're going to get it back. We're going to call a timeout, and we just never could get the ball back. And credit to them. We knew what play they were doing in overtime. We were prepared. We knew what was going to happen, and Matt Rambo made a great play. And watching that ball go in, it was like the slowest motion thing I've ever seen in my life. I think Timmy talked about it on his podcast. I think he was thinking something and the ball went in. Matt made a great play. And I just remember those guys celebrating and, just this feeling of devastation, not for me. I really, I'm just fortunate to be here and go for the ride. But to look at, and give Jack Neer a hug or a Landis a hug as he walks off the field, and just feeling them and knowing how deflated we were. And, we have a great picture in our house of my son and my dad during the game when we took the lead, just cheering their hearts out. And, somebody sent me that picture, and my son, put him on the field because he was inconsolable because he didn't want, he couldn't stop crying. She didn't want him around me. It was just so surreal. I couldn't get out of bed the next morning at the hotel. Thank goodness my family was staying in the same hotel because that really got me up. If they, they weren't there, I don't know. I don't know if I would have gotten on my morning flight because it was just, you just sit in bed. It hit that hard. It was just devastation. All the emotions, everything that went into it, and just how much I felt for our guys. It was tough.
Yeah. Well, how have you kind of refocused the group, and how this offseason have you stayed in touch with them to kind of get refocused for 2020?
Yeah, I think the group this is a special group, they're pretty resilient. They showed that all year, right? With our roller coaster of a season and being able to get right back into it. And every game, the championship game, we were down a lot of goals and got right back into it. So I know this group's going to find it. We're here to win the championship. That's it. That's what we want to do. We're here to win the championship. And our goal doesn't change. We haven't done that yet. And, we were there. We were close. We lost a couple of guys because of the expansion draft, and we picked up a couple of guys with some trades and some drafts. But our goal doesn't change. How we get there and what it's going to look like is going to be different for sure. But again, we've got great leadership. I talk to Matt Kavanaugh frequently. I talk to Glazner a lot. I talk to Epple. I talk to a lot of our guys. I just spoke with Jack Neer the other night. Patrick Harbison and I have spoken a couple times. So we're really excited. And then I talked to Joe Walters and Kyle Harrison pretty much every other day or every day, and just trying to stay ahead of the curve. And we're getting ready to jump on a leadership council meeting here with our guys and really start ramping it up here, especially right now more than ever. I think it's important to talk to the guys with what's going on in the world and try to get some kind of normalcy in their lives and some things that we can look forward to given the current situation. So, how we're going to get there, it's the same exact equation. We got to outwork people. We've got to do all the tough stuff, and we got to hang in there. This league is, we were so close to not getting in the playoffs. The Whip Snakes were, I think, 4-0 at the beginning of the year until we played them in Georgia. And I think they were 3 goals away from being 1-3, because they had overtime games earlier. And, it's just one of those things where any given weekend, anybody can beat anybody. And, as the Chrome, they were still in it with 3 weeks of the season to go. And, they had a losing records. We can't take things for granted. We got to make sure we capitalize and we're efficient. And now we've got one more year under our belt and our core is back. So I'm super excited about that. I think with the expansion draft, we weren't hit as hard as I anticipated. Losing Westberg and Brian Karalunas hurt on a personal level because I've got great relationships with them, but they're 2 of the best in the game. But I think everybody in this league's the best in the game. So, we're replacing talent with talent that left. And, it's my job to communicate with these guys and don't screw them up, right? They're already good. Don't try to coach them, mess them up. Just, try to manage some things. And, we had a good hire this year. Coach Marzano's a good friend of mine. He had to step away with the Twins and, bringing in Chris Collins is great. So I'm going to be able to move into a different role, which I'm excited for, and he'll work with the defense and the goalies, and Coach Toddy Mack, Coach McFarland will work with the offense, and I'm going to be able to oversee both. And, I'm very type A, as you guys can see. I'll have my hands in both, but, I'm super excited for the opportunity, and I don't know how you can't be with some of the players that just came into the league to make it that much better, and the things that the league's doing with sponsorships and Ticketmaster and all these guys. It's just, I mean, what a great time to get lacrosse going, and we need it. I think the lacrosse world needs PLL to give us all something to look forward to.
Yep, absolutely.
That's great. You talked a little bit about swapping talent for talent. You made a big splash, dealing Sergio Salcido for Myles Jones this offseason. What about Myles' game really makes you excited and made you decide on making that trade?
Yeah, it was tough because I do love Salcido. He is just a phenomenon. He's so athletic. He's a great guy. My family loves him. I was joking yesterday. My middle daughter is my youngest daughter. Sorry, my middle child. She's still pretty upset because we traded Salcido, and my son's like flexing all over the house that we got Myles now. He's wearing mismatched shoes like Myles did in the All-Star game. So we're in a little bit of a house divided, but I think MJ is going to win Janessa over. But yeah, one of the things I loved about Myles is coaching against him, and just for 5 years now, and just watching him play in college, you got a pretty good beat on him, but it's one of those things where I felt great about our scouting report, but he always scores big goals, and he's a huge body. And I really love the fact that we're going to be able to put him in a position that we did with Sergio Perkovic as well, and expand his game a little bit. But Myles is a phenomenal passer. He's an unbelievable teammate. And, the first thing he told me when I talked to him, he's like, "Coach, I love your lefties." And anybody that knows me knows that I love left-handed lacrosse players. I'm a lefty, so I love having lefties. But, Myles has got a history with Joe Walters and, professional lacrosse. And he grew up with Cav down there on the island. And, we've got Ryder. We got so many guys. And that's really going to take the pressure off our attack, which was phenomenal. And Clarky Peterson and Ryder and Cav and Jules, those 4 guys last year in West were amazing. So the midfield is going to take some pressure off from those guys to allow them to do a little bit more. And he fits what we want, right? Dodge and get top side. He can lower a shoulder, roll. You got to slide to him. You got to respect him. And he's so unselfish. I think, that's probably the thing that I'm most excited about having Myles Jones on our team is he's just so unselfish. And he told me straight up, "Coach, I want to win championship. That's why I'm here." And it goes back to the first thing that I told our team is we're here to win championships. So he fit what we wanted. The guys on the team liked him. I'm a big culture guy, big locker room guy. I think we had, I think one of the better locker rooms in the PLL last year. We had a great group of guys, a great team. And it was really important whoever we brought in wasn't going to mess with that. And Myles, he doesn't say I. He kept saying we and me when I was talking with him, or we and us, sorry. And, how excited he was. He was so complimentary of all the other players. And he gets the opportunity to play with Kyle Harrison, which is, I think, something that's very special for him. And it seemed right. So we're fired up him. We told him we don't have stickers for 2 bombs on our team, but we do have a hard hat for the guy that, works the hardest and does all the tough stuff. And, he's excited to try to get that, become the Warden of the Woods.
Yeah, no, I love that Warden of the Woods thing that you guys have been doing after each game. It's really, I think, unique and fun. Yeah,
that was all Matt Landis here at Apple. That was their idea, and they brought it in and implemented it, and we ran with it. And I loved it. It really represents what our team's all about. Some hard-nosed, tough-nosed, lacrosse. That's what you're going to get if you play the Redwoods.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And going off that, you added 2 more guys, in this entry draft, kind of filled some needs. You added Finn Sullivan to add some depth at the defense, especially, with Matt Landis' situation with the military. And then Greg Puskuldjian, a great face-off guy coming over to the PLL. That fills the need, that hole left when Greg Renlian retired. So talk to me through what, got you interested in these 2 guys and what led to your decision to pick them up in the entry draft.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And again, it goes back to, I've been able, Greggy P, he was with us when we won won a championship in the MLL, and he was our face-off guy when we played in back-to-back championships. So I know him. I know what he's capable of doing, and I'm really excited. I know how he does with these other face-off guys in this league because he's faced off against all of them. So, I don't think we could ever replace Greg Renlian, not so much his face-off ability. That goes without saying. He's one of the best ever. But what he brought to our locker room and the man that he is was really, really special and really important. So that's going to be, we can't replace that just yet. But, Greg Puskuldjian is going to come in, and I know he's going to compete with these guys, and he's going to work really hard at training camp, and I know who he is, and I know what we're going to get. So he can spark you real quickly. And, I remember our playoff run in the other league when I had him, very similar to our playoff run here, where our face-off guys scored some big goals in the playoffs to get us going. Greg did the same thing for us during that run. So we're excited about that. Again, that goes back to the relationship. And, the college situation changed how we approached the expansion or the new player draft at the last second. And then, when it comes to Finn, he's a guy that we liked, and we watched him play at Hofstra. Coach Tierney's another guy that's a mentor of mine. He's really taken me under his wing in the last year. And, we knew Finn. Hofstra had a great defense when he was there, and they were very well coached with KU was coaching those guys. So we knew what we were getting with Finn. He's big, he's rangy, he's lefty, played at Denver. He has relationships with Eddie Glazner and Matt Kavanaugh and a bunch of our other guys.
Yep.
Which goes back to that locker room piece. Really important. And, we're not expecting him to replace Matt Landis. We're expecting Finn Sullivan to be Finn Sullivan.
Absolutely.
I remember talking with Finn. He got me excited because when I talked to him on the phone to let him know we were interested in picking him up, he's like, Coach, you guys are one of the teams that I really, really want to play for, and, was hoping that we would get the opportunity to do it. So when he was available, we jumped at it, and, we're excited.
No, absolutely. And I think, Finn talked to us a little bit too about how, he just lost the championship in the MLL with the Outlaws last season, and, you guys losing in the PLL. He felt like he already had that instant bond with a lot of these guys on this team. So I know he's, probably really excited to get with the group this summer.
Yeah, we got some work to do. We're excited, and we're gonna have motivated men in our locker room. But it's gonna be fun to watch this unfold.
Absolutely. With that wraps up our main questions. We're gonna take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsor, and then we'll go into our 5 and 5 segment. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Pro Lacrosse Talk podcast. Today I want to talk to you about our sponsor, Anchor. We've been using Anchor for the Pro Lacrosse Talk podcast since the very start. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place, and better yet, it's free. They allow you to easily record and edit your podcast, and once it's published, they send it out to all the major networks such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. They also connect you with advertisers so you can start making money from your podcast right away. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast today, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Stitcher Premium. You can use Stitcher Premium to listen to shows ad-free such as Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, My Favorite Murder, Wolverine the Lost Trail, or our favorite, The Fantasy Footballers. For only $4.99 a month or $34.99 a year, you get access to Stitcher Originals, bonus episodes, and comedy albums. Better yet, if you go over to Stitcher.com/premium and use the promo code LACROSSE today, you can get 1 month free. So head on over to Stitcher, sign up, and get your free trial today. All right, so welcome back. We're here with Coach Nat St. Laurent of the Redwoods. Now we're going to go into our 5 and 5 segment. So, Coach Nat, I'm going to start off with the 5 lacrosse questions. These are supposed to be more, fun, quick answers. But first one I have is, do you have any pregame superstitions or routines? And if you do, what are they?
Not really. I like to go for a run in the morning, do something, get away, be by myself, get to the stadium, walk around the field, get out of the locker room, just take a moment, reflect on life, and think about my family and think about how fortunate I am, and then flip that switch. It's go time.
Yep. And then what has been your favorite venue to play or coach lacrosse at?
Oh, man. I'll tell you, Audi Field this past summer in Washington, D.C. on July 4th weekend, and just gives me goosebumps. That was a great one. Obviously, the Star down in Texas won a championship in that facility. That'll be a memory I'll never forget. Those are probably two of my favorite. And then Marine Corps Stadium, pretty awesome, amazing experience.
The Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium is the one that a lot of people throw out there a lot. And my dad actually went to Navy, so I've been there quite a few times, and it's always a great environment, no matter what event you're at, if it's football or lacrosse. But going off of that, number 3, how do you refocus after a tough loss during the season?
You just it's the same thing I do before the game. We now that I'm older and I've grown as a coach and as a person and understand life, I just take a deep breath. I step back. Think about what I could have done better, what we could have done better, and then we got to move on. Like, we can't the world's not going to, nobody cares. You lost the game. Like nobody's going to sit here and feel sorry for you. The next team wants to knock your door in just as bad as the team that just beat you. So we got to make sure we get ready to respond and, get ready to fight and get ready to take advantage of the next opportunity.
Absolutely. And then number 4, what's a piece of advice from the military or a saying that you've kind of applied to lacrosse?
Always forward. I remember my first couple weeks at training camp, or not training camp, but basic training, they kept talking to us about always forward, always forward, always forward. And it just makes so much sense to me in life and as a coach, as a father, as a person. Life, we just got to move forward. We have to, we can always remember and reflect and think and get better, but we have to move forward. If we don't, it could lead to some tougher times for us. Absolutely.
And then number 5, who's a coach that you've leaned on as a mentor during your career?
Coach Stagnita quite a bit. He gave me my first ever summer camp coaching job as a young assistant. We just spoke last night for about 35 minutes, 40 minutes. So, he's a guy that's just, I've looked up to. He's taken me under his wing. And then, Coach Holman out at Utah, he's just, like I said earlier, he's just one of the best human beings I've ever met. His advice is always sound and, he relaxes me and allows me to grow as a human being too.
Awesome.
All right, so moving on to the off the field questions. What are some hobbies or activities you like to do when you're not coaching?
Yeah, hobbies. I like to read Civil War books. I get into the Civil War. I think that's I don't know what the draw is, but I really enjoy that. Right now, working on developing a relationship with this Peloton, so trying to work out here as I get older.
Okay.
But I like putting puzzles together. I really enjoy that. And the Civil War and history, those are things that I really enjoy doing.
Awesome. Kind of going off of that, one of the questions I love to ask, I'm a big book reader as well. Any particular books that you'd recommend to one of your players or friend?
Right now, I'm reading an awesome book called Atomic Habits. And I think that's a book that I would recommend to anybody in any profession at almost any age. I just think that it's pretty motivating and it helps you get to the version of, you have to step back and see who you want to be. And then it helps you figure out how you want to get there. So that's been a fun book that I'm reading right now. But my favorite one is a quick read. I'm a huge Admiral McCraven fan. And Make Your Bed. That's actually by my bedstand. Make Your Bed, just Navy SEAL lessons and how they apply to life. Those are 2 books that come to mind right away.
That's awesome. Yeah, James Clear. I read Atomic Habits a little while ago. That's a fantastic quick read. You go right through that one. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Very, very cool. So speaking of Ohio a little bit, we always like to ask we have a lot of fans that like to travel. Any good spots for people to go while they're in Ohio?
Yeah, I think you go down to Short North down in Columbus is great. It's over near Ohio State. That's a cool spot. For my family right now, if you go up into the Sandusky area at Put-in Bay, I mean, that's a cool spot. If you're a younger kid, you can go over to the island out there and the boat leaves at like 10 o'clock and it doesn't come back to the next morning. So the younger people can go over there and do what young people do. Us older guys, with families, we can get out of there in time. But yeah, Ohio, it's been a real fun place to live. I don't think, it's not sexy. It's not Florida. There's none of that. But, we're really close to, the Upper Peninsula. We can get up there up in Michigan pretty quick. And we've got the lakes near us. And being from upstate New York and the lakes, it really made us feel at home.
That's great. Very, very cool. So kind of going back to sports, but not necessarily lacrosse. What's your favorite sport to watch that isn't lacrosse?
I really love football. I just, if I were 25 pounds heavier coming out of high school, I think I would have played football in college, but I just love watching football. I just love, the way people read plays defensively, especially, like I love watching linebackers and DBs. And then obviously those skill position guys are great. And ironically enough, I watch linemen. My older brother gives me a hard time for that. He was lineman and I was the guy that was returning punts and, playing safety. But I like watching them just because they're in the trenches and I just want to see, I like seeing them do those little things right. I mean, there's so much attention to detail that linemen have to do. I really enjoy that. And then it's fun to study, the routes and how skilled guys calculate their footwork and things like that. And now I'm really getting into the draft now that I've been coaching pro, lacrosse. I really enjoy watching those shows where they talk about, how coaches go about drafts and handle their player. I was really fortunate enough to spend some time with Mr. Bernhardt, who passed away this past year. He was really helping me last year as I was becoming a head coach at the pro lacrosse level. And some of the stories, I miss them. It was just awesome. And some of the things that go into that in pro football, I mean, they do scouting reports on the officials. He was telling me, with the Houston Texans. And wow. So they just break it down to a total different level, and they are so focused to detail, and they think about all these little things that just help their teams win. I was just fascinated by it. And, some of the stories he told me were amazing.
We talked to both Jesse and Jake, and I remember him saying, a football mentality in the sport of lacrosse was what he preached. So, I never met Coach Bernhardt, but just talking to both of them, you could tell how much he meant to those guys, those players, and, both on football and lacrosse.
Yeah, we certainly miss him. He just had a way of making everybody's day better, and you just learn so much. I'm a big talker. I couldn't even talk. I was just listening to him, writing down, and smiling and laughing over the stories. So we miss him, and the world needs more people like him.
Absolutely.
That's great. And then last of the 5 and 5, we have a lot of foodies on the show too. We love to eat. Any particular meal that's your favorite? Do you like to dine out, take out, or cook at home?
I think I'm pretty simple. My wife will tell you I'm extremely picky. But I don't know. But I'm a huge lasagna guy. I think some of my players, Kyle Harrison and Tommy Schreiber, and those guys would probably tell you I take a lot of flack because I like Mountain Dew. So they get, my eating habits probably aren't as should be, and they need to change as I get older. Big lasagna guy, and I just love Italian food, and so that's probably my favorite. Lasagna, throw some meat, some sausage in there. My mother used to put pepperoni in there as well, and that's it right there, man. That's the go-to.
No, that's awesome. Well, that wraps up our 5 and 5 segment. The final question I like to ask our coaches and players that come on is, what is some advice you have for a young player looking to one day play lacrosse professionally, or even a coach one day looking to coach professionally?
The advice that I would have would be just never stop learning, and find a way to make things yours, and own what you're learning. So, and what I mean by that is, like, when I first got into coaching, I was a huge Jim Tressel fan, and I really liked Tony Dungy. But, now I really, I remember being told doctors study each other's work all the time. And I've been trying to do that. So, just try to grow, learn as much as you can, read as much as you can, watch as much as you can. But the one thing that's helped me the most is I've always been able to find a great mentor. And I think that is something that is so important. And I love having guys that are older than me, that have been around the game for a long time, because I think we try to change the game sometimes, and we try to make it bigger or different than it should be. And I love having people in my life that have seen everything, that have, hey, okay, this reminds me of this story. So I think finding a great mentor that's been around, that can help you and through stories and experiences, help you find your way is really important. I know I would be nowhere today without all the great mentors that I've had.
No, that's some great advice, Coach. We appreciate it. And thank you again for coming on the show. We really enjoy having you, talking both Redwoods and your coaching career. And, we appreciate it.
I appreciate it. It's awesome having me on, and hopefully we can do this again in the future.
Absolutely. And best of luck, preparing this season with the Redwoods in 2020.
Can't wait. Let's go, baby. Roll Woods.
Today's show is being brought to you in part by Stitcher Premium. You can use Stitcher Premium to listen to shows ad-free, such as Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, My Favorite Murder, Wolverine the Lost Trail, or our favorite, The Fantasy Footballers. For only $4.99 a month or $34.99 a year, you get access to Stitcher Originals, bonus episodes, and comedy albums. Better yet, if you go over to Stitcher.com/premium and use the promo code lacrosse today, you can get 1 month free. So head on over to Stitcher, sign up, and get your free trial today.